Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is our limited series where we talk about the series Ahsoka episode by episode. We're kind of bunching them together, but it's fine. But we're very excited about today's episode because honestly, if you've been listening to us, I've been kind of on the fence about this show.
Well,
But
some of us,
when
not all of us.
I said I myself have been kind of skeptical because I know you've been all in from the beginning, Goose.
I've been
I
all
know.
in.
I've been very conflicted about it, but last week's episode, Shadow Warrior Part 5, oh my God, it just blew everything out of the water for me. It's one of the best things I've seen on Star Wars television, hands down. But, we'll get to that.
We will get to that. We will get to that. It's kind of unfortunate that if you're listening to this, it means that you are listening to it after all of these wonderful
Yeah.
episodes have come out, because if you've been following, if you have been
Mhm.
listening, and if you look at our posts on Twitter, or I guess X now, whatever, you will know that we are not publishing episodes of Struck Work because Ahsoka and other shows like it are coming out during the 2023 WGA and SAG after strikes, and hence this episode was recorded during those strikes. And without the labor of the writers and actors who are currently on strike, this series that we're discussing today and many other series wouldn't
Never
exist.
happened.
And if you're willing and able, please consider supporting the writers and the actors by either raising awareness, by sharing any posts that are talking about the strikes so that people are more cognizant of what's happening. But if you're willing and able, please donate to the Entertainment Community Fund. We have a link down in the description below. Every little bit helps. Some of these people haven't been working for a couple of months now, and it's a pretty important fight that they're doing, not just to preserve like their livelihoods, but to preserve the future of human storytelling. Because what the companies are trying to do is like not tell stories anymore, but create content created for robots, for automatons, and that is something that we are not. So please, please, please support the strikes in any way that you can. But with that being said, we will still talk about this and release it after those strikes are done. And in a way, this has kind of helped us group the episodes together to like not talk
Yeah.
about them as they come out, because there's really, I mean, since we're not pulling them out as they come out, we
Episode by
didn't
episode,
really, yeah, we
Mhm.
didn't really think that made sense to record them in that way right now. But they're grouping themselves in a pretty interesting way,
Organic way. Yeah, it
organic
kind
way.
of worked. Yeah.
And after last episode, we were like, oh, okay, so this is kind of like this is not necessarily like a Clone Wars arc, but it did kind of close
Mhm.
some sort of story, because first episode was a dual premiere. Now we have these
Mhm.
3 episodes that culminated with the majestic return of someone who we will discuss a little further down the line. And then we have 3 episodes left, so we'll probably talk about the next two, and then have like a
And then the
final episode
finale. Yeah.
to talk about the finale.
And
Before
then
we
like
get going,
overall the series.
as some of you know, Mo has been joining us and will be joining us for all these Ahsoka episodes, because they are very excited for this show in a way that they haven't been for some of the previous Star Wars stories that have been coming out, which we're very excited for. Unfortunately, as you can tell or hear or see, whatever way you're watching this or interacting with this episode, Mo's not here today. And I haven't told Nani why. And I'm about
Yeah.
to tell her. So Mo cannot be here today because I was texting them. I'm like, oh, I'm on my way home. Remember, we're
Yeah.
recording at X hour. And then they're like, oh, can we reschedule because I have to wake up early? And I'm like, why do you have to wake up early, Mo?
Uh-huh.
And Mo says, well, I have to wake up at 2 because I have to be somewhere at 4. And I'm like, what the hell do you have to be
Why?
somewhere so early for? And then he's like,
Uh-huh.
well, I'm going to go milk some cows.
Of course. Of course they are. Of course they have to go milk some cows.
And I was just like, usually, like, I get a little, a little upset when people want to reschedule like at the last minute, but this was milking cows. I just like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
yeah.
love it. Like, we're not rescheduling. I'm sorry,
Well,
but
they're doing, like,
I love
pre-vet
this.
stuff, right?
They're doing pre-vet stuff. So this is
Yeah.
purely academic.
Mhm.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not a
It's
recreational
like,
milking, so to speak. It's a professional one. Interpret that as you
"Oh,
will.
wow."
Mo will be milking some cows at 4 in the morning tomorrow. Well, tomorrow for us recording today. In the
Right,
past for whoever's listening to this, but
right, when we release it,
that's
but that's
why
what Mo was doing.
that's why
Yeah,
Maz was doing, and they did give me like a little theory that they had about something that happened in the episode that we will discuss because
okay.
Mo's gotta give the Mobius strip,
Oh, yeah,
but it's gonna
oh, yeah.
be that's gonna be at the last part because it is about the last episode. And
Episode, yeah,
as Nani mentioned in the beginning of the episode, we will be discussing three. We'll be
yeah.
discussing part three, Time to Fly, part four, Fallen
Fallen Jedi,
Jedi, and then part five,
the
Shadow
majestic
Warrior.
Shadow Warrior.
Shadow Warrior. Holy crapola. So
Yep,
I I don't think we should talk about this as three isolated
yeah. Let's
episodes
talk about the
in a
themes
let's
and
just
everything
talk
that
about
we've
the
gotten so
whole
far.
thing.
Mhm,
So
I agree.
when we left off talking, Nani, you weren't feeling it. You weren't feeling the show. You were like, Ahsoka wasn't resonating with you. Things
Yeah,
hadn't hit the ground. And
yeah,
I, in my, in my optimism, was like, Nani, but they're building towards something. We're gonna get a catharsis. There's gonna the Ahsoka. She's gonna come back because something's gonna happen. We have to set up the episode show for people that haven't seen Rebels. All these things. I don't want to say I told you so,
but you told me so.
but I wasn't wrong. So why don't you walk me through your emotions seeing all these two episodes? Because I like the last one was so
Let's
powerful
keep it. Oh, yeah,
that we
that
have to
we
talk
can
about
keep
the
that one by
first two.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I was still having some struggles with some of the characters resonating, as you've said, and slowly Hera had been starting to grow on me. And then when we started to see some of her interactions with Jason, that we finally got Jason in live action. It's so good. I did
And
really
he
start
looked
to,
good. I was worried that he was gonna look dumb like he did in
yeah,
Rebels, but he looked good.
yeah. No, he looked good. He looked good, and he was giving us some Kanan Jarrus vibes as well. And
Well, did you notice the pauldron, right?
I know,
It's the
I
same
know,
pauldron as his daddy. Oh my god.
I know. But seeing her interactions with Jason, I did start to get more of a Hera feel from her. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot happier about that. I'm still having issues with Rosario Dawson. I'm sorry, and it keeps going even with episode 5 because we'll get to it. But young Ahsoka was perfection,
Mm.
and Rosario Dawson still does not really feel like Ahsoka to me. She feels like Rosario Dawson with really good makeup and
Well,
everything
that's
else. Yeah,
I mean that's literally
I know,
it's called
it
acting,
is,
by the
but
way.
well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think she's pulling off the acting. I feel she's
Okay.
acting like Ahsoka she's acting like Rosario Dawson with a really good makeup job. She's
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I'm not feeling Ahsoka from her yet. I've kind of tried to tone that down and imagine that it's not her, but then I was brought so much into the episode because the young version was so perfect, so good. But anyway, we haven't gone to the episode yet. So I'm liking a lot about the story. Balin's skull is
Mhm.
fantastic.
Ugh.
I'm so sad that Ray Stevenson is not here to see the fruit of his work and how amazing it has been, and to see this different version of like a fallen Jedi that we're getting from him, and this whole vibe we get in that fourth episode about I'm here for the greater good. I'm not necessarily aligned with the dark forces. I just think
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
whatever is happening now is still not the correct direction to go. Like Ahsoka's legacy is also, death and destruction, just like Anakin's was. So we're getting to see this kind of in between version of he's not really a Sith, but he is so disappointed with the Jedi that he has completely separated himself from that as well. So it's been a really, really interesting take on the different levels of darkness
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
versus light that we're getting throughout the series, which was a big theme in the Clone Wars and in Rebels, this kind of having to find a balance after the fall of the Jedi.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I've been every week I get more into it, and now I'm kind of sad because we only have 3 episodes
Hmm.
left, and
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure we're not going to get an actual conclusion
Yeah,
because I
100%.
think it's
Yep,
all
I
going to
agree.
happen in the film. So we're probably going to get left on some form of a cliffhanger that's really going to upset me. Probably. So now that we're after the halfway point and I saw the potential that this show can achieve, now I'm kind of upset that, it's only 3 episodes left.
It's only 3 episodes left, and I agree with you. But before getting to our concerns about that, I have to. I mean, I agree with you that the build up
Mhm.
has been great. It's just been different for me than for you, right? Because
Because you were into it.
I'm
Yeah,
like
I know.
let's go.
Let's
But
do it.
I wanna piggyback on what you were saying about Balin because I agree. I think Balin is the standout character of the
Yeah.
series because I mean he is a sort of Ahsoka. I mean, we talk about Shadow Warrior and
Mhm.
Fallen Jedi, and it
Yeah.
refers to Anakin or Ahsoka, but it refers to
Yeah.
Balin as well. So I
Balin.
think
Mhm.
that's one of the great things about the naming of all these episodes. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't just have like the one meaning and have
Mhm.
like that binary. It's like all these different. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even call it light and dark. It's just like all these shadows, right? Because shadows can be
Right.
like a lighter shadow or a very dark shadow, and I think that's where all of these Jedi that we've seen are in their journeys, right? Especially
Mhm.
the final Jedi that will. I mean, everyone that's listening to this already saw it. Especially Anakin, when we
Anakin.
when we
Yeah.
see him like at the end of the fourth episode, and especially in the fifth episode. But I want to
Yeah.
focus more on Balin right now because I think Balin is
Yeah.
Ahsoka to like to
Yeah.
a degree, right? People call him like a dark Jedi, but that doesn't exist. There's no great Jedi or
Yeah.
dark Jedi. He's just a fallen Jedi, and it's
Yeah.
and I think that's the kind of cool thing about his character. He's not the traditional fallen Jedi like an Inquisitor or a Sith or
Yeah.
like
Or who? Yeah. Mhm.
fully gave into the dark side, and obviously is symbolized by the orange saber, not having a
Mhm.
red
Not the
saber
red. Yeah.
and like having this nostalgia, right, about the Jedi Order and even his pattern. Even Shin has like the Jedi braid, so he's not. It's not that he's given up on the Jedi Order. It's like there's some sort of like fatalism to him, right, about everything that happened in the state of the galaxy and the war and the fall of the Jedi. It was just like it just seems like he's more bummed out than angry about anything. So I think that's what
Mhm.
makes him a compelling character. He's not evil for evil's sake or bitter about things. It just seems like he's a sad boy, He looks
Mhm.
at the past and he's like, "Oh man, why couldn't it have been better? How
Yeah.
can we make it better?" And I think in that sense, it's the same thing with Ahsoka. Ahsoka got
Yeah.
betrayed by her order. She abandoned it. She's afraid of it to an extent.
Mhm.
Uh, she takes a Padawan the same way that Balin took a Padawan, but abandons it too. It's just like, while
Yeah.
Baden's still embracing the Jedi
Yeah.
tradition, so to speak. Ahsoka is on the one
Kind of
hand
freaked
she
out
accepts
and
it, but then
yeah.
like rejects it.
Yeah.
She
Mhm.
doesn't know where she stands in terms of
Yeah.
her position, right, as a Jedi and a Force wielder, so to
Right.
speak. So I think that's why, especially that their fight in Episode 4 was so
Yeah.
awesome because you get to see their strengths and their weaknesses and how
Yeah.
they're approaching their conviction towards this fight. And where Ahsoka is just fighting because she should fight, he's
Yeah.
convinced that what he's doing is the
Is the
right
right
thing,
thing. Mhm.
and not for Thrawn. I think that's the cool thing. Balin's
Yeah.
not in it for finding Thrawn. He's in
Or
it for
getting drawn
something
back.
else.
It's
He's in
it's
it for
it's for
something
some
else.
reason we still don't know why, but he thinks whatever he's doing is for the greater good. So
Hmm.
we don't know where he got this insight from and what his actual plan is, but it's
Hmm.
very clear that it's not just that he's like a Thrawn fanboy and just wants to get him back. Like he
Right,
thinks
like me.
whatever
I'm the
actions
fanboy.
he's
I want to
doing.
get him.
Oh, I know. But you can see that clearly he thinks that he's causing a chain reaction that will lead to something positive,
Hmm.
and we don't know what his goal is yet, and we still don't know what the actual plan is or how what his thought process was in deciding this is the way to go. Become this mercenary, help this person out, and set these situations into motion uh, where did that come from? Is there somebody wise that is behind him? Information like we don't really know, but we can tell that he is completely convinced of the rightness of what he's doing. And
Yeah.
then that fight was so beautifully choreographed that you could tell that it's a different style of fighting
Hmm.
because and Balin was so kind of just confident in every move as opposed to like Ahsoka who's still like in this place where she's like really undecided of what her place
Yep.
is among the greater universe. So
And
it was
how
very,
awesome,
very well.
how awesome his fighting style, it's just like
Yeah.
it's what's the oh my god, the word escapes me. The name of that type of sword, oh my god, like William Wallace's sword, one of these big ass
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. All you nerds that are listening that can remember the name of
Have a
that
better word for
type
it.
of
Yeah.
sword, just put it in the comments below. I totally forgot. But it feels like he just has like this massive, heavy thing that he's just like wielding around, but wielding it
Yeah.
with like strength and conviction. It's not like when
Right.
we see Mando wield the dark saber and it's heavy for him, and he
Yeah. And
can't
it's just
do
like
it.
kind of randomly hacking.
Right.
Yeah. It's not the
Like
same
here,
as.
Balin's just like
Mhm.
full control and mastery. And kudos, because I've been seeing a lot. I don't know if they're intentional or not. I hope that they're
Mhm.
intentional, but I've been seeing a lot of connections with the Jedi series, with Fallen Order and Survivor. Especially
Uh,
now that we're talking about Survivor, one of the stances that Cal has is like the broadsword. I think it's called is the broadsword. So it's very similar to like how Balin fights. I think that one's a coincidence, but there's other uh, stuff from the video game that also comes to play, specifically in the fifth episode. Uh, but yeah, 100%. Balin is a standout. I'm a little not disappointed because I still think that there's something to explore with Shin, but obviously Shin is the
yeah.
mirror to Sabine, but we haven't gotten a lot of development for her.
From there.
So
Yeah.
like we
Hmm.
can't, which fair. Like there's a lot of characters. There's a lot. This show's doing a lot of heavy lifting for
Yeah. There's a
everything.
lot going
So
on. Hmm.
something's got to give, and not everyone's gonna get all the development that they deserve. But Shin is that mirror to Sabine in terms of like how are you brought up into this Jedi world, because let's face it, to an extent, even though they're dark side, quote unquote, they're
Yeah.
still
Hmm.
being like Balin is still training Shin as a Jedi to an extent, at
Yeah.
least in the with the traditions, even though they're embracing the dark side, it's still very Jedi, formally
Mhm.
Jedi training, just with a little sprinkle of pepper, a little dark side in there. I just wish that there was like more to Shin so that I can balance out Sabine a little bit, which maybe we'll see in the next episode, since Sabine made the decision that I was
Yeah.
dreading that she was gonna do. Because like,
I
holy crap,
know.
that
I
that
know.
was wow. Well, that was such a good scene, especially with how the episode sets it up at the beginning, with
Hmm.
Ahsoka telling Sabine, "We have to do the right thing, and if we have to destroy whatever
Yeah.
to the ship to make sure that Thrawn doesn't come back, even if it means losing Ezra, we have to do the right thing." And Sabine being like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, we'll do that," but that in the back of her mind, she's like, "Oh, can I do that?" And then
Yeah.
that decision, which I felt that was the way it was gonna go, because I don't know if you felt the same way, but at the beginning, when Hu Yang tells them, "Stay together, you guys are more
Yeah.
effective
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a team," and they
Mhm.
start fighting together, and they are
Mhm.
awesome, and they're kicking all kinds of ass, but all of a sudden they get separated. And the minute that they got separated, I was like, "Shit, something's gonna happen."
We
Obviously,
already knew. Yeah.
no one's gonna die, except we'll talk about that character dying, but no one's
Which
gonna
was a
die, but
total red
something.
herring, by the way.
Oh, but I loved it. Well, we kind of
I
talked
know.
about that. We kind of talked
I
about
know.
that a
I
little
know.
bit.
I know. I know. It's good.
But Sabine's decision. What did you think about that? Did you see it coming? Do you think even if you saw it coming, do you think it was done well? What do you think of Sabine's development the last two episodes?
Yeah. So I did kind of see it coming because they set it up in a way that it would, but it was still well done in the sense that even though I kind of saw it coming, I was still surprised when it actually happened
Right.
because I kind of thought that they set it up that that is what Sabine would do at that moment, like the way that they developed her character. But I didn't really think that they would pull the trigger on it,
Hmm.
because it was all. so slow as it's happened, as she's holding the map in her hand, and she wants to make the right decision, and she wants to follow, what Ahsoka is recommending that she should do. But there's so much to unpack in her relationship with Ahsoka. They don't still completely trust each other. There was a breaking in that relationship that they're trying to rebuild, but they're not there yet. And you can see how the opportunity to save Ezra would be appealing to Sabine, because
Hmm.
Sabine, she was never really a Jedi. She started training. Ahsoka abandoned the training. She never had any loyalty necessarily to the Jedi in general, especially now that the Jedi have fallen. She lost her family. She lost Mandalore. She lost her faith originally in the
Hmm.
Empire, because originally she was a student at the academy. She had faith in the Empire, and that trust was broken as well. So at this point, the only healthy or positive relationship in her life is Ezra, and Ezra has been missing for years, sacrificing himself to save all of them. And her father figure Kanan's dead as well, so it does make sense for
And her
Sabine
family
to
now
have.
died at the Night of a Thousand Tears.
Yeah,
So
so she's lost everybody, and the one relationship to her that is still important, because we've seen that she replaced the message that Ezra left her. We don't know how often, but we're assuming probably a lot. That this opportunity to save him, and seeing that she doesn't even know if Ahsoka actually survived what just happened.
mhm.
So
That's
her
yeah, that's the thing.
options,
Both of them are like at this point
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah. What happened? Because they became separated. As you said, it's that ominous thing of stay together, please. And then we see it again in episode 5. It's like, I told them to stay together.
and let's give a massive shout out
No.
to David Tennant, because you
As Hu
hear,
Yang, it's
oh my god, you hear that pain in his voice when he just
yeah.
says, "I told them to stay together. They never listen." It's like,
And just
oh
holding the
man,
helmet, and it's just
oh,
like heartbroken.
that's some amazing voice acting right there,
It
sir.
is. It
Kudos to
definitely
David
is.
Tennant, because I
Amazing.
felt that emotion. Which, by the way, I don't know about you, but I think I think it was in episode 4, where after yeah, it was 4 after they crashed, not crashed them, but after they crash after being shot down by the Eye of Sion, and the
Yeah.
HK droid is sneaking up behind Huyang. I was that was the most scared I've been. I was watching A Haunting in Venice the other day, and you know how that movie's supposed to be kind of like a horror whodunit. I was
You
not
weren't as
scared.
scared.
I was not scared a single time in that movie. I haven't been scared in a horror movie like in a hot second, but I was terrified when like that HK
Yeah.
droid was coming behind Huyan because I thought he was a goner. I was like,
Yeah.
no, like Dave Filoni, don't,
Please
don't,
don't.
don't, don't.
Yeah.
Not. It was like in the Matrix when Switch was about to be killed, and they
Oh
say like,
yeah.
not like this, not like
Not
this.
like this.
That's how I was just like, don't do that
Not
to
like
Huyan.
this.
But kudos to my boy. He defended himself with his little extra arms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Boy's got some moves for like a 1,000-year-old
Yeah.
droid. Good job, sir. Good job.
Definitely. Definitely. So yeah, even though it kind of made me sad, but one, it was actually kind of necessary for the story to move forward. We want to know what comes out of this. And it is a decision that, for Sabine at that moment in time, I think it actually made sense for her
Yeah.
to make that decision. So I'm totally okay with it. I know it's been like controversial for some people, but if you know good storytelling and character development,
Right.
that decision made sense.
Sometimes I
If
think
you
people
think it did too,
sometimes think I think sometimes people think that just because something's predictable that it's bad. It's like no,
mhm,
sometimes a predictable thing is the necessary thing. And I think it
yeah,
absolutely makes sense not just for her character, but also for
yeah,
the good guys in general, right? Because the good guys
mhm,
are supposed to, I mean, you see it in Spider-Man, you've obviously seen it in Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, like the good guy wants to save what matters to him. And like, because you
yeah,
only save what matters you can only save the world if you can save what matters to you. It's like Matrix Reloaded when when the architect tells Neo that he can either save Trinity or he can save
mhm,
humanity by
yeah,
reinserting like the source code back into the Matrix and restarting
yeah,
everything. And Neo's just like, well, Like I have to save the one I love because if I don't save the one I love, I can't save anything else.
What's the
Because
point? Yeah.
the manifestation of love is very personal, and then it goes into the global.
Well, and I mean,
Uh,
it happens in Rebels as well when Kane and Jarrus is taken away and Hera's
mhm,
like trying to follow orders. That the orders were to abandon Kanan because you can't expose the plan and the people and everything. And then it's Ezra and Sabine that convince her that it's more important to save the member of the family and
mhm,
figure out
mhm.
everything else later. And it goes right back to that Sabine would still feel that way.
Yep.
And the most important person in her family, the only person that she has that still feels like family to her is Ezra.
I
Of
mean,
course she would choose to try to save him.
same way that Luke Skywalker saved the galaxy. He saved the galaxy not by
By
just
saving Anakin.
but he
Yeah.
saved it through a son's
Mhm.
love of his father. And like a single act of love can save the universe, and I think that's a super powerful manifestation because it will trickle down or trickle up, I guess, to like
Mhm.
everyone else's fate in the galaxy. So good job, Sabine's gonna pay off. You did the right thing, girl. Like the
I
only
think so
person that's
too.
done it wrong is Peter Quill in Avengers Endgame. No, no, sorry,
Too
in
much.
Infinity
Yeah.
War when
Mhm.
he ruined the plan, started
Yeah.
smacking Thanos in the
Yeah.
face. Bad job.
Yeah.
But we don't
No.
like Peter Quill in this house, so it's fine. He's the lesser of the Chris's anyway. Uh,
Agreed.
but we can keep going on for hours about like
Mm.
all this stuff, and we'll have a lot more to talk about once the next 3 episodes come out. But we're in the meat and potatoes of this episode, and there's only one thing that anybody cares about, and it's that cliffhanger on episode 4 that led to an amazing episode 5, and that is the long-awaited return, the rumored return of the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, played by Hayden Christensen. Nani, what did you feel?
Spectacularly played by
Spectacularly played. Which, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Mhm.
How did you feel at the end of episode 4 when Ahsoka just wakes up and she's in the world between worlds, which we knew we
And I was like, first,
we knew we were
well,
probably gonna
we
see it.
we knew we're probably gonna see, but knowing that you're probably gonna see it and then actually seeing it are two completely different things.
Yeah.
The design was amazing. I was never expecting it to I actually never expected it to be so much because there's so much of it that we get in episode 5. So I thought at the ending of that, I was like, are we actually we're in the world of worlds. And
Hmm.
this is a cliffhanger, which means we're gonna continue to see it. And then obviously we see Anakin Skywalker,
Oof.
like Snips.
How
The
did how
fact that he
did
calls her Snips.
that we heard
Oh
Hayden
my
Christensen say
god.
that. Oh
That
my god.
killed me. I was like, and
And
then
he
at the
looked
cliff,
incredible.
perfection.
Like the wig was
Yeah.
amazing. Good job, wardrobe department, because you messed up Bo Katan's wig in season 2 of The Mandalorian, but you fixed it. You gave her a good wig in season 3, and now Anakin's got a great wig in Ahsoka. I will say, and I know this is a dumb thing, I did feel like his de aging looked a little rough in episode 4. So it's just like, ugh, you look a little, there's a little too
Yeah.
much Photoshop going on there. I mean, it was still amazing. It didn't distract from like
Yeah.
how I felt and how
Yeah.
what a beautiful cathartic moment it was to see that thing that we've been waiting for. Like see the live action encounter between Anakin and
Mhm.
Ahsoka that we've been hoping for all these years. But yeah, like the aging was a little off. But in episode 5, all of a
It was
sudden, like
fine.
the aging was
Yeah.
perfect. I think that's the
Yeah.
best de aging I've
Yeah.
seen, in like even including Dial of Destiny, which I think had like an
Yeah. It
incredible
was
de
pretty good.
aging
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
Harrison Ford. Well, to be fair, they don't have to de age him that much, so it's easy to de age Hayden 10 or
Yeah.
20 years than it is to de age
As opposed
Harrison
to
Ford
like 40.
50. So I
Um,
kind of shut myself up on that one.
yeah.
But now, yeah, we finally made it. We're at episode 5.
Yeah. No, but right
Go.
before, like that cliffhanger on episode 4, I was worried because we get the Vader theme, like
Oh,
right
right,
as it
right,
cuts
right.
off, and I was
Oh
like
my god,
kind of
all the
worried.
theories.
I was like,
Right, what did you
what?
think? Did you think that was because then I went into the rabbit hole, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, that lightsaber is not his lightsaber, that's a black
Mhm.
lightsaber. I went into the rabbit hole, I was like, that's not him, that's a dark
It's all a
side
trick. It's not.
vision.
Yep.
But
I thought so too. I thought it
well,
wasn't actually him.
we'll get
Yeah.
into theories now that we finally have the episode. So, what did you think? That was that episode.
That episode was insane. It was insane. I couldn't stop doing like this the whole episode. Like, oh my god, I can't believe they're actually doing this. This is ridiculous. Um, their whole interactions in the world between worlds, it was so well done. Like from the beginning, the first time he turns on the lightsaber, it's the
Oof.
lightsaber. I'm
Woo.
here to finish your training, and it's like I'm done. No, you're never too old to finish learning. This whole kind of
You look old.
dynamic,
Oh,
and
so
it's
good.
and the lesson:
Hmm.
live or die. This is your lesson. This is it. You have to like accept that this is what you haven't learned yet. And to see the Battle of Ryloth, and then to see
Ugh.
and to see the Siege of Mandalore, and Anakin with
The Clone
the armor.
Wars armor. Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
To see that in live action, and Anakin being the Anakin from Clone
Ugh,
Wars with the young version of
so
Ahsoka, which
good.
was perfection, and she had the kind of necklace she had
Yep,
from the
everything was
show,
perfect. She was
and
perfect.
then
The lightsabers were
when
right. Everything
oh my
was
god,
right.
the first time she like realizes that she's in the Battle of Ryloth, and it's like these are the Clone Wars, like yeah, duh, and then she turns on the lightsaber, and it's the green one. She doesn't have the second lightsaber yet. Rex.
Captain Rex, voiced by
Oh
Tamara Morrison. That man, like, he must be thanking his lucky. I say this probably every time that Tamara
yeah,
Morrison's on screen. He must thank his lucky stars that he got cast as Jango Fett back in
I
like
know.
the early 2000s because
Yeah.
it's been
That is
paying
the
off
gift
in it's
that
paying
keeps
off
on
in
giving.
spades. Spades. Like he oh my god. Well, whatever. I keep making the same joke. It's not funny anymore. Well, it kind of is. But
It
yeah,
kind of is.
we got Captain Rex. We got Phase One clone troopers because we've never seen actual
Yeah,
physical Phase One clone troopers
yeah,
until this moment. So it's like people were saying like, "Oh, we got like clone troopers finally." I said, "Well, we've seen Phase Two clone troopers in live action
yeah.
before at this point a couple of times, but this is the first time we've seen Phase One, and it was amazing. It was beautiful.
And it was
How
so gorgeous to watch because I love how it's kind of like this desert feel that you can't really see what's happening. Like you can see the backgrounds only when things explode. And then
Mhm.
that lights up the vehicles and it lights up the troopers because the center of attention is Ahsoka and Anakin. So we get the Clone Wars, but without it, taking us out of the scene and what
Right,
this
right.
means to the
I,
relationship between both of them.
it's really clever because it's one of those smart ways to use the volume because they filmed that in the volume
Mm-hmm.
and you can you know that they're not like in those places
You know where the dimensions are. Yeah.
and obviously the fog is to hide stuff so that it looks
Yeah.
because you're in a small place and make it look bigger, but thematically it fits in so well because one,
Yeah.
a cliche, fog of war, but also you're kind of in a
Mhm.
dream, you're in the world
Mhm.
between worlds, so like it makes sense that you can't really see what's happening. It's all based on Ahsoka's memory of an event, so it's not going to be as sharp as when the event
Right.
itself happens. So it's so clever to do it that way because it has different layers.
Yeah.
Ultimately, one of those layers is to make use of the volume and get away with,
Right. But it works.
but it works because it complements, right, the
Yeah.
themes of what's going on in those visions, and and it just crescendos into that epic scene of like Anakin walking away and then like the bomb goes
Darth
off and it
Vader.
goes Darth Vader flashes.
And the saber in the same exact position goes from blue to red. The outfit. And, oh my God. Goosebumps.
Dave
I just
Filoni,
rewatched it today and the whole
good
episode
job.
I was like, massive. It was so good. And especially that because the dialogue was so good as
Hmm.
well. This whole idea of because Ahsoka is still having this internal struggle because, as you correctly assumed when we first started watching the show, you were right. We're trying to see this transition, how she becomes that, Gandalf esque
Hmm.
character
Hmm.
that we see at the end of Rebels. This is her journey to getting there. and how it had started since she was young. Because, like, what is happening? I mean, people are getting killed because of decisions we're making, and we're Jedi and we're supposed to be peacekeepers. And then Anakin be like, yeah, we were peacekeepers when I was a Padawan. Now we're at war. Now we're soldiers. I have to teach you how to be a soldier and how to survive.
Which what a cool line because not only it's right, but also because it's the
Mhm.
callback, right? To
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones when Mace Windu says the exact
Mhm.
same thing, but as a negative.
Mhm.
It's like we're
Yeah.
keepers of the peace, not
Mhm.
soldiers. And then you see that
Mhm.
a couple months later or a year later, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we kind of betrayed our values immediately
Yeah.
to fight this war that we were never meant to fight. And to see how the Jedi so quickly embraced like those fallen ways, which took ultimately led to their
Mhm.
destruction. But something I wanted to mention about that also that I thought was really interesting about these flashback sequences, and it's something, especially with the Siege of Mandalore. So, probably because of the animation style, like Ahsoka, we know that she's young, she's still in her teens, but because of the
Yeah.
animation style in Siege of Mandalore, I felt that she was like an older character at
Okay.
that point, and to all of a sudden like see the actor that they cast and
Mhm.
see like how young she looks, especially
Yeah.
how short she is and very young complexion, especially like next to Anakin. It's like holy shit, like yeah,
Yeah.
we're sending children to battle.
Yeah.
'Cause somehow like with the animation, I kind
I
of
know. But
detached
it was
that
so
idea,
crazy
but
though,
to
wasn't
see
it, to
it there, it's
see
just like whoa,
and to
like
see her fighting like Ahsoka, because I don't think Rosario moves like her as much as
hmm
I would want her to, but that actress does. And then, especially at this point, we're at the Siege of Mandalore. She's using the blue lightsabers, which Anakin gave her upon her,
hmm
return. And Rex calling her commander, as we know that he does. And when he comes up behind her and being like, I don't remember this fight, you weren't here. At this point, we were separated. And that's where his fall from grace was happening at the time that she's trying to
hmm
leave the
hmm
Siege of Mandalore alive with Rex. And it's so crazy to see it in live action. And I love that it's coming, from Anakin, this whole like we have to adapt, because the fact that the order was so restrictive is one of the reasons that he ended up falling to the dark
hmm
side. And then trying to teach her from his perspective, we can be more than that. Yeah, I was dangerous. I was more powerful than everybody thought that I was, which is when we start to see the fight when he becomes when he becomes Darth Vader without the suit. But that is Darth Vader. He has the yellow eyes. His face changes completely, like the way his facial features work. It's so transformative when he finally decides
hmm
that now he's Darth Vader and he turns on the red lightsaber and it's, oh, sorry, I'm getting goosebumps.
it's good. It's good. Which I think it's something that I kind of want to talk about because I think well, we'll talk well, yeah, let's talk about it. Because yeah, when
Yeah.
that happens, a lot of people there's obvious, if it's not a Star Wars thing, especially if it's a world between worlds thing, if people didn't have theories. And obviously I have
Right.
my thoughts on what happened there. Mo
Yeah.
has their thoughts with all which I'll introduce because
Okay.
they're wild. I don't agree with it at
And we
all, but
will
I think
discuss.
it's great. But I want to hear yours. Like obviously we're in the world between worlds, so it's this like this place between space and time that
Yeah.
connects the cosmic force with the living force. So things are a little more fluid with what's happening there. Uh, do you feel that the Anakin that we were seeing there was Force Ghost Anakin talking to Ahsoka, or do you feel that
Mhm.
was like a manifestation of the Force that that Ahsoka was going through, like oh my god, what's it called when you go in the desert and have her
Be like a spirit quest, a
thank
vision
you.
quest.
Thank you. There we go.
Yeah.
And you have like a vision quest. You feel
Yeah.
what team are you on, so to speak, on that one?
Okay. So when it first started, I thought it was a vision quest kind of thing. And this is what the Force is showing Ahsoka, because it's what she needs to see for her to grow. But as it kept going, first of all, in my opinion, there's things about Anakin that Ahsoka didn't at the time. So it
Mhm,
sounds more like it is actually Anakin. And then, especially when we see him transition from the Anakin that she knew growing up, she never really knew Anakin in that version except for the fight that they had
mhm,
right before going to the world between worlds and rebels. And at that point, he's already fully encased, armored Anakin, not
right.
this version right before, the hellfire fight happens with Obi-Wan. So this is a version of Anakin that she didn't really know and had never fully come to terms with. And what makes me think that it is a Force Ghost version of Anakin is because this is an Anakin who has already been saved.
Mhm, mhm,
That fight and the fight is very emulative of the fight that she has with Anakin in Rebels, but in that version she's actively trying to save him
mhm,
and it doesn't work. Like the last time she sees Anakin, she assumes that he's beyond saving, he can never be saved. That's the end of him. She drops the lightsabers at the end of Clone Wars and Anakin assumes she's dead
mhm,
when that happens. And it's not until that episode in Rebels that they see each other again. And it's Ahsoka still trying to save him, like not really wanting to believe that Darth Vader was her master and still actively trying to save him. And in this episode, I think we got the reverse. Anakin trying to save her and being able to do it because he has already been saved by Luke. So he has come to accept the different versions of himself, his
mhm,
dark
mhm,
version,
mhm, mhm,
his
mhm,
mastery of her that he gave up because of his own arrogance as well, because he thought he was always the one that knew everything. That's why he said that changing her lightsabers to blue was an improvement
mhm,
because
mhm, mhm,
it's his own ego talking. So this isn't, I think this is Force Ghost
mhm.
Anakin that has been brought back from the darkness by Luke and is now able to embrace all aspects of himself. And that's why he can finish Ahsoka's training.
Mhm.
So that's where I stand.
I 100% agree. Like, I have my reasons
Mhm.
that are more,
That are different.
that are
Mhm.
no, no, not. I'm more or less like in the same vein as you, but I feel like sometimes people like have like their convoluted reasoning to justify a certain thing, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
sometimes, especially with like Filoni things, I feel that what
Yeah.
you see is what you get type of stuff. Like for
Yep.
example, I'm gonna bring up like Marok, the Inquisitor. Everyone
Yeah.
says like, is that Ezra?
Yeah.
Is that the eighth brother? Is that a Star Killer? Blah blah blah. All
Yeah.
these theories like about who this mysterious character could be,
And
and
then
at the
suddenly
end,
the character dies.
it was Marok.
Yeah.
It was just some guy,
Yeah.
and it
It
just
was just
turned
some guy,
into green fart magic. It
which he
doesn't
could have
matter.
been a construct of, you know, Dark Sister magic as well,
Yeah,
because it's
that's
kind of
the
like the same
right.
color and
That's the
yeah.
theory that I am holding on to now. So it's
Sticking
like
to. Yeah.
he was just
He was a
revived
dark
by
creation from
he was revived by Morgan Elsbeth at some point, and he's just a dude, and it doesn't
mhm.
matter. And I think, yeah, like what you see on the screen is like Marok was Marok. That's it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same thing with Anakin. It's like Anakin is Anakin, but
Yeah.
that's too lazy of an explanation. So let's speculate.
Mhm.
So I do
Okay.
agree that it's that it's Force Ghost Anakin, and I do
Yeah.
think it because it has a lot more strength. I feel to have that moment of catharsis happen between the two of them
Yeah.
in that quasi physical way than it would if it's just like Ahsoka. Because you can't forgive someone or have a catharsis with someone without the person, right? You have to
Yeah.
have that moment with them to be able to, because you can forgive them within yourself, which is
Yeah.
important, but you have to also forgive them to them,
Yeah.
because I think that's an important part of that dynamic between two people, especially two people that have hurt each other. So I think just in that
Yeah.
sense, it needs to be Anakin that's there. And
And
why
you
isn't
can't
he
really
glowing?
learn something new without that person
Right.
introducing that new information. Yeah.
And like it makes sense that it's him too, because we are in the most powerful place in the force where these beings that are already part of the cosmic force can
Yeah.
interact in a more strong way. That's why he's not
Yeah.
glowy, because he doesn't have to go through into the living force.
Yeah.
Just like he can just be there and manifest. And I think that some of the things that I think we're throwing people out, it's like, oh, why is he turning into Vader? Is this like a evil? And it's like, no, it's just him
It's
projecting
part of
an
him. Yeah.
image. It's like
Yeah.
it's not he's evil, his eyes are he's actually turning
Mhm.
into a Sith. He's projecting an image of something through the force to like prove a point type of thing. It's like, okay, well, this is what you fear. I'm gonna project that image to you. It's not that he's actually being Vader, it's like he's projecting an image. Kind of like
Well,
Luke
and
projected himself at a crate from Acto. It's like, yeah, you're making a force projection, but
Yeah.
he's making, instead of just projecting himself, he's projecting a persona, which is the persona that Ahsoka needs to face. It's like, oh, this
Yeah.
is the darkness within me, but it's not the darkness within me that you're scared of. It's the darkness within yourself, which is why she's afraid to live. That's why he tells her, "Oh, either live or
Yeah.
die," because that
Mhm.
life that you're not living fully is a life that you're slowly dying in. And the moment that
Yeah.
you kind of embrace that
Mhm.
life with joy and acceptance and hope, then that's when you're finally living. And I think that
Yeah.
was the most important moment in that episode when she has his red lightsaber up against him, and then her eyes turn yellow,
Eyes go yellow.
but then she
It was
pulls
so
back,
good.
and it's just like
Yeah.
does
I choose to live. Throws the
The
lightsaber.
Luke movement, which actually, yeah, like the whole fight starts like Luke, because she says like, "Oh, I will not fight you," and then Anakin says like, "Oh, I've heard that before." And I don't know if that was Filoni being like, okay, he's referencing Luke in Return of the Jedi, saying, "I will not fight you," but it was funny that like the fight starts and ends the same way that his fight with Luke went. Him
I kind of
refusing to
completely
fight.
hope that it was on purpose.
I
I
hope
hope it
to.
was on purpose.
Like it's Filoni, so I
Yeah.
think it probably might be,
Yeah.
but I don't want to
Yeah.
also disappoint myself.
We
But
never actually know. Yeah.
yeah, it was great, and it was 100% Anakin. Let me look up Mo's theory.
Theory. Okay.
I wanna see. I told them I would read it, because when they said this, I was like,
What?
this is too wild. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Mo said, by the way, my take is that the Anakin that we saw is really Vader in his meditation chamber going into the world between worlds.
Oh my god.
Which I'm like,
Oh my,
that's wild.
wow.
I love it. I don't think it makes sense,
Yeah.
because like why would
Yeah.
evil Vader want to
Help
make
Ahsoka.
help her
Yeah.
when he was trying to
Yeah.
kill her as Vader? So but I love it though, like how out of the box it is.
I mean, and it could go into the fact that Vader himself was never completely evil, and that's why he was able to be saved by Luke, because there was that kernel of good still inside him, and maybe in his meditative state, he would project himself as the mentor version for
No.
Ahsoka. But I don't really think it makes sense. Honestly, I'm trying to. I mean, it's great, but no, I honestly, I just think it's forced.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, we're gonna be talking about
Mm,
Anakin coming back for until the end of
yeah,
time, because it was so epic. Which, by the way, yeah, you mentioned it at the beginning, but I want to re-emphasize it now. Uh, Hayden's performance was amazing. Like, and it's something
yeah,
that we have been talking about for the last couple of years, ever since we've been doing this podcast. Is like Hayden was just given kind of not a lot to work with in the prequels,
yeah.
so his performance
The
wasn't great
yeah,
because the material wasn't great. And I
the
mean, in
dialogue was just terrible. I mean, they even made Natalie Portman look bad, and that's really hard to do.
that's really hard.
Natalie Portman is an amazing actress, but yeah, but
So, oof,
the
the
dialogue was
performance,
so stilted. But we've seen the resurgence of
he
Hayden Christensen, which I
crushed it,
love. Like the
crushed
little
it.
bit that we got in Obi-Wan was fantastic, but this was so good, and he was able to pull off that character from the Clone Wars, which
All the
wasn't
different
him,
facets,
and
right?
it was so good, and it just he pulled it off so incredibly well.
So
I
many
was
emotions.
really
Like
impressed.
he did like
Mhm. Mm.
episode 3 Anakin, sad boy Anakin. He did like
Yeah,
Matt Latner, Clone Wars Anakin. Like he was able to like project that type of like more, happy, not happy go lucky, but more
yeah.
joyful Anakin from that we saw
Mhm.
like in the animated series. He channeled it.
Joking in the middle of a
So
war because
that
what are you gonna do? We're in the middle of a war. What do you want me to be more serious? That's Clone Wars Anakin, which is
sadness,
fantastic.
anger,
Yeah,
happiness,
yeah,
disappoint, like, oh, when he says like you lack conviction, and then they do the whole thing where they mix it with Vader's voice. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Like this is like the third time that they've done that effect, and every single
and
time it's
it
awesome.
works.
Every
Yes,
single time it's
it's
awesome.
so good. It's so good.
So oh
I
my god, yeah.
I was very impressed, and I love the whole. It's like Ahsoka's been so afraid because she knows what her master becomes, and she's afraid that she's on the same path. And being able to see that Anakin, who went full dark side, was still able to be saved because he chose to live. We get that catharsis. Like after she comes back from the world between worlds, we start to see her with the more white outfit, with
Mhm.
the hood that she
Oof.
hasn't put. Like she's getting there to that character, the Gandalf one. I can't wait to see the
But
staff.
it's
I want
so
the
but
staff.
it was so good because
Yeah.
when she walks out of the well, it was
Hmm.
great because they pull her out of the water, obviously,
Hmm.
symbolism, rebirth,
Hmm.
baptism of what like she had her baptism through fire during the war, and then like she's purified in the water. So we had like the whole mythic
It was
symbolism
glorious,
there.
yeah,
It
especially
was
when
great.
the first time when it like combines, like you see the two
Yep.
bridges coming,
Oof.
and then the water resurges, and she just accepts
Because
the water, and then
she's
it's like,
shifting planes all of a sudden. It's like, oh, the good job, Filoni, good job. But then when they pull her out of the
mm,
water, and then the next shot that we see of her is sunrise, like the sunrise hitting her face, and it's like a new begin. Ah, so
and
good.
and Anakin, and then she first puts on that like the little cowl and like thanking Jason. Which, by the way, that whole scene when Jason convinces Hera to just listen, and they're just
Hmm.
standing by the
And Hera
cliff with
hears
their
it.
eyes closed, and it's like
Everyone has the Force.
lightsabers, and you can hear the lightsabers, and then the Jedi theme comes in, and then the actual confirmation that his father was Kanan Jarrus, a Jedi.
They say the name drop. Oh my god,
Yep.
so good.
Oof.
And we have to give credit to the Kiners. The Kiners have been cooking. The music,
Mm.
I mean, throughout the whole series has been great, but that episode, the
Yep.
music was something out of this
Else.
world.
Hmm.
Especially like at the end scene that we'll talk about now in a second. But before we get to that, like I wanted to talk about what you were talking about when she comes out with the little white poncho and she's slowly
Yeah.
getting into like a full Ahsoka the
And then
White
there was
mode.
like more of an outfit because she had like a gauntlet
Right.
and like the clothes, like right
But
before she goes into the Purgle tunnels.
that little moment that she had with Jason, you could there was already like that little joy, the joyful Ahsoka's back. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, go. Have you ever been on a Jedi Star Cruiser?" And I was
Mhm.
like, "Ah, that's it. That's Ahsoka. She's back. I
That's
knew it,
Ahsoka. Yep.
motherfuckers." But
And then obviously the interactions with Huyang. There's
oh,
a training
awesome.
room. Will you train me? No. Do you
Nope.
know how to make lightsabers? Yes. Will
Yes.
you teach me? No.
No. Awesome. Amazing.
So good.
But then the catharsis of because I was one of those people. I think I mentioned in the last episode. I don't remember. Like when the Purgles first showed up in Rebels, I
Yeah.
wasn't too much of a. I was like on the fence
Yeah.
about it. I'm like, I don't know about these
Mhm.
Purgles. But I very swiftly switched teams, and I'm like, Purgles, let's go. And I remember when the trailers for Ahsoka came out, and you see the rune, the Purgle rune, like in
Right.
the map. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
that looks really cool. So like I've been really excited about seeing Purgles in this show because we got that little tease in Mandalorian that
Yeah.
blew my mind. So I've been like waiting for Purgles, and it did not disappoint because I was so happy during the whole scene because like
Sequence.
the
Yeah.
Purgles looked amazing and Ahsoka's
Coming out
happy
of the
and she's
clouds like
out and yes.
waves, and she her standing on the ship like with the cowl blowing behind her, and we're gonna communicate with them, and the whole
And
Pinocchio
being
going
happy, right?
into
Like
the
knocking on the glass to tell Hui Yan, like, hey, get
go
closer.
go in, let's go. Yeah, it's like
So
she came
good.
out a happier person. It's like the character that we remember is oh,
When they get into the
yeah.
Uber Purgle. I don't know what
Oh,
the internet's actually
yeah.
calling it.
I love it. Do you know
We're
where we're
calling it
going?
Uber Purgle.
No idea.
But it's better than going nowhere.
Then
I was
doing
like,
the yeah.
oh, I was like,
Yes.
damn, that's Ahsoka. There we go. I loved it so freaking
I know.
much. And then that's just like the whole the music's what sold it, right? Because the whole
Oh yeah.
music's just
Mhm.
crescendo, 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 and it just keeps building. And all of a sudden, like you see the Purgle's tails start lighting up, and I'm like, let's
Yes.
go.
No, when it's like the Republic fleet and it's like, I would move because you're in their path. And it's like, oh, evasive maneuvers.
Evasive.
But I love that they're pointing out so much about why the New Republic failed. Like we talked about it so much when the
Hmm.
sequels first came out. It's like, how were they defeated so easily? And we started to get some of that in Mando season 3, and we're seeing it right now that it's because they stuck so rigidly
The
to that
bureaucracy.
stupid bureaucracy
Well, it
that is
reminded me a
mhm,
lot of episode one with Chancellor Valorum. Like Chancellor
yeah,
Valorum didn't do
it's
anything
the whole
to
thing.
stop
Yeah.
the invasion of Naboo because of the
Mhm.
bureaucracy, and that's how
Right?
Palpatine was able to get his hooks into
To
everybody
wiggle
and get.
into power.
And
And
that's
the
what's
New Republic
happening
did the
to
exact
Mon
same thing.
Mothma. The exact same thing that happened to Valorum is what happening to Mon
So sad.
Mothma, and
Hmm.
it's disappointing because I would have liked to see at least one movie or season of something where it's like New Republic's great, guys, but that's fine. It's fine because it makes
Well, and we
sense
can
thematically
tell
to what they're doing.
why Leia ended up being General Organa because she could tell at this point she's still a senator and the New Republic doesn't work, and that's what disappoints her
Hmm.
into it, and that's why she leaves the Senate and becomes a general because she herself can see that the New Republic it just wasn't working.
Well, there's more to that if you read the book
Yeah.
Bloodline by
Okay.
Claudia Gray, but
Okay.
we're not going to talk about that today.
Mhm.
That's a different episode. But yeah, what a way to end the episode with like Ahsoka joyful to like go into a new galaxy
Into the unknown.
inside the mouth of a purgle, which obviously the biblical Jonah and
Mhm.
it was a giant fish. It wasn't a whale. But that's neither here nor there.
I
But
like the Pinocchio reference better.
the Pinocchio, it's like Joseph
Yeah.
Campbell too. Like you have to go into the
Yeah.
belly of the beast and all these things. So
Mhm.
it's well done. But now we reached the halfway point of the season, which means we only have 3 episodes to go. We haven't
Yeah.
seen Thrawn yet, so I feel like we shouldn't be doing like a responsible speculation because we're not doing this week by week thing. So anyone
Yeah.
that's listening to this is already gonna know what happened. But I think it'll be fun for
For
people to listen
argument's
and be
sake,
like, "Oh my god, they were
they were so
so
wrong.
wrong." So let's just a responsible speculation before wrapping this up. What do you think's gonna happen now? Now that we're like,
Okay.
because in a way, the series is starting now.
Yeah, like everything else had been a prologue
Yeah.
and kind of setting up everything that people that didn't watch the animated stuff didn't know and kind of get you into the characters, which I still think it's hard. I think it's not as accessible as I
Hmm.
would wanted the show for people that didn't know
Hmm.
anything coming into it because it really like if you don't know all these things from the animated stuff, it wouldn't hit as hard as it has. But
It
you
wouldn't
know what?
hit as hard, but I don't think that means that you wouldn't
Yeah,
be
it
able to
wouldn't hit
enjoy it.
at all. I know. And as a person that was very skeptical about watching the animated stuff, watch the and then watch this. It's so good to see it.
Because, for example, one of these things like uh, Empire Strikes Back, the reveal that Vader is Luke's father actually hits harder because you don't know the
Mhm.
background. So sometimes not knowing something about the past
I
actually
know.
makes a
True.
viewing experience better. So, because if you had seen Revenge of the Sith before seeing Empire Strikes Back, when Vader does the reveal,
True.
you would be like, "Oh, well, yeah,
Whatever.
I knew."
Which I mean
So
happened to
obviously,
a
it's
lot of
not
people, I think.
obviously it's not apples to apples,
Oh, yeah.
but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think this episode focused so much on Hera and Ahsoka and Ahsoka's relationship. Obviously, it's Ahsoka's show, but because we had them separating from Sabine, I think we're gonna see way more of Sabine
Hmm.
and Balin Skull and what's happening to those that already made it to the other galaxy. So I don't know if we're just gonna kind of get a solo episode. I hope not, because now that we know that Ahsoka left at the same time, we don't know how travel between galaxies work. But it should have been
Next
close.
episode's gonna be a Mandalorian episode.
I mean, it could happen.
Yeah,
It's the
it could.
Filoni verse. Like
It
it could
could.
totally
You
happen.
never know.
And suddenly, Book of Boba.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Like he comes back and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to take back the episodes you took from me in my show."
I'm here to stay now.
Hmm. It's like, oh shit.
Since I'm already Rex, I'm back as Boba as well. Um, but no, but I think it's gonna be hard because I think what would actually be really cool is for it not to be about the people coming into the galaxy. That we would start with like Thrawn and Ezra
Hmm.
from their perspective already on this other plane.
I like that. Oh, I like that. That was good. That was good. I like it. I hadn't thought about it, but I like it. I like it. Because then, ooh, I like it. That's great. 'Cause the beginning of the episode is just them doing their thing, and then all of a sudden it's just like all of a sudden the Eye of Sign just shows up, and both timelines kind of catch up to each other. I like it. I like it. I like it. I dig it.
I'm glad you
Eh,
do.
so I'm gonna piggyback off of that because one of the things that
Okay.
I definitely want to see, and I mean, and we will see it. it's and this is just nerd stuff. I want to see Thrawn Star Destroyer because I want to see the Chimera. I want to see like
Yeah.
those snakes underneath the Star Destroyer because it's cool, and
Yep.
we've seen that. I mean, we've had that since like the '90s with the Heir to the Empire books. So I just like want to see Thrawn Star Destroyer in live action with the markings underneath, which obviously we will see it, and I think they were kind of easing us into that in Mando season 3 when we saw that ship with the mythosaur skull painted underneath.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
Trying
okay,
to get
it's
into the
like, hey,
aesthetic
people,
of yeah.
you're gonna see some of this shit soon. But the other thing that I really want to see, and this is, I think, I don't know if it's a wild card, but I'm not 100% convinced of it, and if it doesn't show up, it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect the plot at all. It's more like, again, nerd things that I want. Is the TIE Defender. I want the TIE Defender
Ah,
because that
yeah.
TIE Fighter was always awesome in the Legends book, and they brought it back for Rebels, obviously. So I'm just like, hey, give me one TIE
Just,
Defender. It's
yeah,
Thrawn's thing, give it to
yeah.
me. But speaking of Thrawn, I am worried that what you said at the beginning is going to turn out to be true because I have been thinking the exact same thing.
That will just
He's
get a
not
little cameo and that's
He's
it.
not. Yep. He's not gonna feature
Mhm,
that much. I do think that he's gonna show up in this episode for sure.
mhm.
I kind of now want it to be the way you described it because I think that would be really really cool. But yeah, I think there's gonna be like a skirmish or something, and it's gonna be an unresolved thing. I
Yeah,
do think that there's gonna be, if I were a betting man, I would think that there's gonna be another season of Ahsoka before the
before
movie.
the film. Yeah.
I feel like the movie's a little too far away for for that,
For them to leave it here.
and
Unless we're
especially
just
with
gonna
the
see
writers' strike and the actors' strike, it's just like it's
yeah.
kind of too far away. And I think a show I think they need another season of a couple of things to build up more towards the movie.
I mean, unless they were starting to do a more Avengers Assemble thing before the film and start having more of these characters like come into Mando or something else, which I don't like. I would like for them to keep as much as possible to their own shows,
Same.
but
I
yeah.
mean, I do understand some of the crossovers for Mando,
Yeah.
but to have like Ahsoka's world and I mean Sabine factors in now, so it kind of also, I don't know. I mean, obviously,
It's
I'm not
so
against it.
much.
I'm not
Yeah.
against it if it's done well.
Yeah.
So we'll just
But
need
I
to
mean, it
wait and
is kind
see.
of
But
crazy that literally some of the best Mando episodes that we've seen were in the Book of Boba. Like there were better Mando episodes in the Book of Boba than in Mando season,
yeah, well, but
and arguably Mando
season
season
two
three.
had that amazing opening episode with Cobb Vanth. So
Still
I
alive.
mean, for me, still Mando season 1, that's the gold standard. Like,
Yeah.
that season is just absolute perfection, just like Andor season 1 is absolute perfection. So,
Oh, and actually, a comment that I wanted to make.
about
I
Andor,
love, yeah, because we've tried not to be super prejudiced, but we love it because Andor was amazing and we got to go
it
to
was, oh,
so
yeah.
whatever. But Andor, I think, exceeded so well because it stuck to the realities of what war can be like so
Mhm.
well, which is definitely a part of Star Wars. But Ahsoka is exceeding in going into the mystical part of
Yeah,
Star
yeah,
Wars
yeah,
and
yeah.
going with the weird and embracing it in a way that hasn't really been done in the live action stuff, and it's been mostly limited to either the books
Mhm.
or the animated stuff. So I think that both sides of the coin are very effective.
Yeah,
And that for Ahsoka to be like, we are going full, we're doing the Purgles, guys. We are putting a ship inside of a Purgle's belly and going to a different galaxy, and fuck you if you
it's one
don't.
of those
So
things where it's not either or. It's like, I don't
yeah,
understand these people. It's like, I just want everything to be Andor. It's like, I don't. I
no,
want both. I
no,
want
because
everything.
this is
Just
Star Wars. Star
variety.
Wars is everything. You get everything in Star Wars from a foot soldier to an all powerful Jedi, and everybody's part of the galaxy.
Oh, yeah. On that, I do want to say, I think this should be like the closing thing.
Mhm.
Is that while I do love Ahsoka and I love, like, I personally prefer live action stuff. I still love my animation,
I
and
know.
in a way, from what I've heard from talking to people that know about behind the scenes things, uh, Ahsoka, a lot of the plot beats from Ahsoka were supposed to be for like another season of Rebels,
Of Rebels?
and Rebels was actually had
Ah,
allegedly like a season that was already under development, but then it was canceled when like all this stuff was happening. So
yeah,
I'm not saying like I'm not happy with Ahsoka. I'm saying that I don't want some of this live action stuff to limit what
yeah,
animation can and
yeah,
has done, because we are only getting Ahsoka because of animation. So I
right.
think it's important to also maintain that part of Star Wars alive, because it was and still is a very important part of Star Wars, and a part of
Yeah.
Star Wars that has defined what Star Wars is nowadays. So I think that
Mhm.
Lucasfilm should be wise enough to balance it out and be like, hey,
Yeah.
we can have our awesome live action stuff crossover from animation into that, but we should also not let
Respect the
animation
medium.
die,
Yeah.
and not just do Tales of the Jedi, which as great as it is, it's
Yeah.
it's shorts. We need full seasons back, and I know we're
Shows.
getting
Yeah.
Bad Batch season 3. It's gonna be the last one of this, the Bad Batch show, but we need more. We need more animation. So that's all I have to say about that until we watch the next two episodes. What about you, Nani? What are your closing thoughts?
I want to see more Night Sisters.
I think we will, especially with how
Yeah.
Jedi survive. Oh, which I didn't mention it before. It's too late now. We're closing the episode. With
Yeah.
like Jedi Survivor having
Yeah.
like Marin,
Mhm.
now we have Morgan Elsbeth. I do think that there
Yeah.
will be
And how Marek
some
was probably
revival.
a creation of it, and we've seen some aspects of how Dark Sister magic has a lot to do with this. So I really
Mhm.
want to see some. I love my Dark
We all do. We all do. So I think that's a thing that might be a guarantee.
We'll see what happens with the next episode. So I think that's it for today.
That's it for today.
We are Triad of the Force. We respect the strikes. We are trying to be solidary, so we're not releasing new episodes, but these will be released at some point. So we want you to comment on them, please, to keep the conversation alive because Star Wars is not dead.
It's
Star Wars
quite
is
the opposite.
very much alive, and there's a lot of really cool things coming. So we hope to keep, talking to you about all of these amazing things and other nerd whimsies that we come up with because it is a fantastic time to be. So until next time, may the force be with you.